So I planted some tomatoes, and I needed to build some tomato towers. I had tomato cages from ages past, and they just broke down. So I took some fencing from a job that I had just recently done and cut them down into pieces to create the various parts and staves of this tower. I gang cut most of the pieces on the bandsaw because speed was of more importance to me in this case than accuracy, and I was going to clean it up anyways. And here you see a shape that I drew out onto these boards to create the main parts of the staves for this tower. Then I pre-cut some of the lines so that it would be easier for me to cut the shapes out, the complex curves. Well, they're simple curves, but with my tools, they're complex. And this material is nominally, it's called cedar, and some of it acted like cedar and looked like cedar, but I'm thinking that it had been pine that had been colored cedar red as a cheap fencing alternative to genuine cedar. I cut out the tight radii on the stave with a 3/8 inch drill to make it easier when I hit it with the jigsaw. Having cut 4 of those, it's on to cutting out or chopping out the mortises. These are through mortises for a loose tenon because these will expand in the garden with watering, with fog, and then they will contract as well with heat, especially in the summer. So I had to make sure that I had these things loose enough that they would fit the tenons and still allow room for expansion and contraction. The first test, I created a second stretcher that goes between them, mortised or tenon, and then cut mortises through the tenon. Normally this is for something like a draw bore, but it's really just for a second tenon that goes through to hold the thing together. Having widened out one of the holes, I wanted to make sure I had the dimensions correct. Tested it on an existing second stretcher and then went to chopping out the rest of them. I'm showing this because it took me 8 minutes to chop out this tiny little mortise. But using the drill press and jigsaw and then chiseling out, it still took me 8 minutes per mortise. So it was of no advantage to do the mortises any other way but by chopping. Then I drew a curve on the larger stretchers and cut them out at the bandsaw, gang cut them, 8 of them, so that it would have some architectural shape. And then I sanded everything and proceeded to apply spar urethane as a sealant. I would have used spar varnish, which is oil-based, but I couldn't find any, so spar urethane. And now I'm fitting the thing together. One thing you notice, they were all just sanded there, by the way. And that is something I hadn't calculated on in my original dimensions because the paint added another 1/16 of an inch of thickness to those boards. So suddenly, what I cut as a loose tenon with the painted boards became very loose tenons with the sanded boards. And so I had to eventually tack some wedges in to some of these mortises just to hold them in place. And the steps to the assembly are easy. It's just getting everything to line up. And here's where I'm adding wedges to tighten up those mortises. And it's ready to be put into the garden. And here it is, my tomato tower. Now, I had built a second tomato tower, an earlier one, and when you look at it, you'll see why I wanted to build the second one. It's ugly, this is pretty, but there are a few things that I would do differently. If you liked the video, hit the like button and please leave a comment. And subscribe to my channel as well so that you can see future videos. In the meantime, enjoy these videos from past projects. Thank you for watching.